All right, let's just jump right in. What if I told you there's this 50-year-old philosophical question that's pretty much become the operating manual for, well, for our daily lives? Yeah, we're going to look at this thought experiment from 1974. It was supposed to be this big warning, right? But somehow it's accidentally turned into the blueprint for our entire digital world.
So it all kicks off with something kind of weird that's happening right now. On platforms like VRChat, people are actually forming sleep groups. They put on their headsets not to play some game, but to fall asleep together in a virtual room. And the crazy thing is, they say they feel this profound sense of peace just listening to the simulated breathing of avatars who could be thousands of miles away, a peace they just can't find in their own beds.
Which, makes you ask, why? Why would a simulated presence be more comforting than being actually alone? Well, the answer, bizarrely enough, was basically predicted 50 years ago by this philosopher, Robert Nozick, who saw this future coming and was absolutely terrified by it. You see, Nozick's warning came out of a really specific moment in time, 1974. Think about it. America was just reeling from Vietnam and Watergate. There was this huge crisis of reality, which got philosophers all fired up about a really basic question. What does it even mean to live a good life? And right at the heart of that whole debate was this idea of hedonism, the belief that a good life is simply the one with the most pleasure and the least pain. Nozick thought this was just way too simple, maybe even dangerous. So he designed this thought experiment to prove that we value things way more than just, feeling good. And he called it the experience machine. So picture this. There's a machine you can plug into for the rest of your life. It could give you the perfect simulated experience of writing a masterpiece, or falling in love, or achieving your wildest dreams. You'd feel every bit of it, and you wouldn't even have a clue you were in a simulation. The question is, do you plug in? Now, Nozick was absolutely sure we'd all say, no way. And he had 3 really powerful reasons why. First, we want to actually do things, right? Not just have the sensation of doing them. Second, we want to be a certain kind of person, brave or kind or witty, and character is built through action, not floating in a tank. And third, we crave contact with genuine reality, with the truth, even when it's hard. And for decades, this was like a knockdown argument, case closed. It was a pretty comforting thought, wasn't it? That humanity would always pick messy, real truth over some perfect, comfortable lie. For a long, long time, that idea was philosophical bedrock. But then, modern researchers came along and totally flipped the script. They asked a different question. What if you found out you were already in the machine, and you were given the chance to wake up to a potentially awful reality? Turns out, most people chose to stay plugged in, which suggests that maybe our loyalty isn't to reality itself, but just to whatever world we're used to, our status quo. So it changed, right? Why did Nozick's certainty just crumble? Well, the answer isn't really in philosophy anymore, it's in neurobiology. We got to look at how our brains were rewired to not just accept the machine, but to actively crave it. The key player here is dopamine, and we've all heard it called the pleasure molecule, but that's actually a huge misconception. Dopamine isn't about liking something. It's the molecule of wanting. It's the neurochemical that drives us to seek, to pursue, to anticipate. It's the chemical that keeps you scrolling, not the one that makes you feel satisfied when you finally stop. And this is where digital technology is just genius in a scary way. It hijacks this wanting system perfectly. A tiny, low-effort action, like a swipe or a click, delivers a massive reward signal to the brain. To cope, your brain tries to find balance by reducing its own dopamine receptors, which means you need more and more of that stimulation just to feel normal. It's a classic addiction loop. Tolerance, then withdrawal. So, social psychologist Jonathan Haidt, he actually pinpoints the exact moment this all went into overdrive, around 2012. He calls it the Great Rewiring. I mean, this is the year smartphone ownership crossed 50%, Facebook bought Instagram. Basically, the foundations for our new reality were poured. And the fallout from this rewiring? It's stark. Just look at the data. In the decade after the Great Rewiring, rates of major depression among American teenage girls shot up by over 60%. The correlation is just impossible to ignore. We built this machine, and our mental health started paying the price. But okay, here's where the story gets a lot more complicated. Because the machine isn't just some simple villain. For every person it traps in an addiction loop, it seems to set another one free. It's both a prison
and a sanctuary.
I mean, think about this contrast. On one hand, you have phenomena like Japan's hikikomori, people in acute social withdrawal, where the digital world becomes a trap that deepens their isolation. But on the other hand, for someone with a severe physical disability, VR can give them a freedom of movement they could never have otherwise. For someone exploring their gender, it can be a safe space to be themselves, without judgment.
And the line between what's real and what's simulated gets even blurrier when you hear about things like phantom sense. VR users are reporting feeling physical touch, like a hand on their arm or a hug, with zero haptic feedback. Their brains just fill in the missing feeling. So if your brain is generating a genuine feeling of being touched, in what way is that not real?
Which brings us to a really powerful counterargument from another philosopher, David Chalmers. He says we've been looking at this all wrong. Virtual reality isn't fake reality, it's genuine reality, just made of different stuff. He argues that the relationships we make, the things we achieve inside VR, they aren't illusions. They are real parts of a real life. So all of this builds to a new and honestly much more urgent problem. That original question from 1974, it's totally obsolete. Think about it. Each one of Nozick's 3 big rejections has been systematically dismantled by our modern world. We wanted to do things. Well, digital achievements light up the exact same reward pathways in our brains. We wanted to be someone. For a lot of people, their avatar feels more true to who they are than their physical body ever could. And we wanted reality? Well, now the very definition of real is completely up for debate.
And that right there is the crucial difference. Nozick imagined this one big conscious choice. You either plug in or you don't. But that's not how it happened, is it? We were eased into it, bit by bit, one notification, one scroll, one like at a time. We never made one big decision to jump in the tank. We just woke up one day and realized we were already paddling. So that original question from Nozick, should you plug in? It's basically a historical artifact now. It assumes we had a choice that, let's be honest, most of us never really made. The real question for us, right here, right now, isn't about plugging in anymore. It's, can you even get out? Can you ever truly unplug? And maybe the even bigger question is, if you could, would you even want to?